Hi, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining me tonight. And I didn't know what I was going to talk about when I first set up the live notification. And so I just changed it today when I figured out what I would talk about. And this is one of my current very favorite topics, which is the old world buildings. And I hope if you haven't listened to our old world energy grid tuning that we had last night, that the replay was available on YouTube. So you might check that out, where we just hold the intention and I do energy work, and friends can join me either to hold intentions or to do energy work themselves. And so we hold the intention to activate and amplify the old world grid and all the parts of it. I see that there's 7 parts, and I kind of talk about that a little bit at the beginning. And so, anyway, I've really enjoyed learning about the old world buildings and looking at the awesome architecture. And for me, working with ancestors, it really, um, I guess, I really care about the people who had built the buildings. They had to be in a voluntarist mindset, like I strive for today. In freedom, just think of a huge expanse of the buildings so big, or even the smaller ones. Like I live in a rural area, and there's a few of the real big buildings, but there's more of the small buildings, but they even have great architecture, or lots and lots of details that we wouldn't even think of putting in or know how to put in on a building today. And if we did know how or could do it, it's just not worth the money to put that on the building. And here they had that, and they had the trains that could take them everywhere, or the airships. They had shows and all sorts of things. They had a life of pleasure. I mean, they might have been working too. There might have been other things they did or had to do. Maybe it wasn't all play, but it's like, a mindset of voluntarist, a mindset of freedom and abundance. That's the life that a lot of them had, at least through some point of history, until there was a change in the mindsets, right? And more as hierarchy would have taken over, and the split between the probably two different functions, kind of like what we had to have today, probably, right? Democrats or Republicans in the United States, or um, other things you can think of. There became a fraction, probably, between the old world ancestors at some point, and then with the struggle of hierarchy, there always comes control and manipulation and lack, a mindset of lack. Not just for money. I mean, they might obviously maybe had plenty of money, but it's like that mindset of lack, of not having freedom, not expanse, of controlling and manipulation, of not knowing your who you are, not knowing that you have what you need within you, not knowing that you're made of God, and have all these spiritual rights because we're spiritual people, and that this is the abundance to share among all the people. And so I would really like to know more about those ancestors. And so the thought had come to me as I was doing the tuning in September, I think it was, that I really needed to visit some of the old world buildings to see if I could get a message from the buildings, or get a message from some ancestors that might still be lingering around there. And so I had the chance to go to one, and I'll be making more effort to go to some of those around. And I think some of my friends will join me. We've been talking about traveling a little bit to seeing some of these the bigger old world buildings, and because I watch different channels, and I see a lot about the architecture, and it's awesome and wonderful. I see a little bit of about lifestyle, about travel. It picks up a lot of things, but at least what I've seen so far is like, well, who's talking about how they feel? Who's talking about the energy, the the feeling, the emotional energy within the buildings that they hold from the people that live there, and the emotional energies of the people that are no longer there. And that's what I want to experience and to share with you. Maybe any knowledge or insight that I can find. And so I went to, um, again, I live in a rural place, and I live in Kansas. And I went to the Kansas Capitol over the weekend. And I wasn't by myself, I was with several other family members. And I didn't have time to really take time to tap into that energy, to ask for those messages that I'm seeking, to ask to talk to any ancestors that might linger there. And so, but I did tap into the energy a little bit. And so this is the Kansas Capitol. This is not the front door. This would be the east side, but all four um, wings, I guess you'd call them, have steps leading up to the pillars and things, the verandas. And so, anyway, and then I had remembered when I have two sons, and when they were in junior high, I took off work and went on a field trip with them, with their classes, or with the junior high from our small town. And one of the stops was the Capitol in Topeka, and so we had been in there. But I remember this. If you look way up at the top of the dome, there's the. It's a. I don't even. I didn't take time to look at. They have a special name for it, um, but it's like an Indian holding a bow and arrow. I think it's a bronze sculpture, and that was put in there in the 90s. It might have been the early 2000s. Years 2000s. It might have been closer to like 2002, 2001, 2000, something like that. Um, and so, anyway, so I just wanted to show you what it was like. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it too, but this was a little bit closer of so you can see some of the more details on the building itself. And around the dome, I don't know, I'll go back to this one. See these little blue spots? Those are like windows, and they're huge windows, really. And I have a picture of one. They have one of the old ones inside in the first floor or ground floor basement area where visitors can look. And they had a picture there. So I took a picture of that, or they had one of those windows there. And this is, stood directly under the dome on the ground floor and was looking up. And I believe Kansas is one of maybe the only still existing state capital that allows tours. People can climb up. I think there's 274 steps to go up above the dome to the top and look down between the outer dome, look down on the beautiful dome from the backside of it. And here's another picture. Of course, the area in the middle that so that all on all the floors. I believe there's 4 floors, and all of it you could see right up from the ground floor to see the dome all the way up. And So I believe this is the second floor. And they had the old elevator operating. And so we rode on the old elevator up. And then here's the window that I was talking about that had come from the dome. And um, it's probably from the bottom of where the wood frame is. If it was standing straight up, I'm guessing it would be 10 feet maybe. Um, I'm guessing it might have been 8 foot leaning backwards. So maybe it was around 10 feet of the framed in area if it was vertical from top to bottom. And you can see, I show some of these walls different as we walk through this ground floor area. You can see some of the block walls. They were very, very thick. I'd say they were 2 foot thick in a lot of places. Um, and very large, like 2 foot tall and 4 foot long. There was all you can see, like at the bottom right hand corner, you can see as you're looking at it, you can see a row of brick, and in on the ground floor, that was around all the base of all the blocks. So it was added at some point. Um, I would doubt that that was original to the building, but I don't know. And then this I tried to take a little more close up so you could see some of the details. And on the ground floor, they had a lot of murals, all sorts of paintings. They were newer, of course. They've covered up the old or taken down the old. And up on the third floor, I believe it was, there were some pictures. Again, we didn't think they were original to it, to the building, but they looked older than the ones that were on the ground floor that kind of portrayed the Kansas story that we're told, different phases of the Kansas history. And here was I don't know if it's the Senate or the House, one of the legislative branches. And you can see um, even it was ornate. I'm in the balcony looking down, and when I was in eighth grade, because I grew up in Kansas, and when I was in eighth grade, I was chosen or volunteered, I don't know which it was, to be a page at the state capitol for a day, myself and another girl from my eighth grade class. And so we were there all day, and um, like we would get our representative from our area coffee, or take papers that he wanted us to take to another, but it was we weren't really working. It was it was more about seeing the Capitol and seeing how things worked and things. And they took us at that time, they took us underground in like a golf cart, and there was the cafeteria, a big cafeteria underground, and lots of people were underground. And so I didn't really see um, tunnels or anything. And I went probably 10 to 15 years ago. I was in the Capitol again, and we parked in the underground parking garage and then walked into the building from there. But again, I haven't really, at that point, I knew nothing about the old world buildings. I was believing whatever story they were telling about it. And, um, but there is a extensive basement, so I'm sure there are tunnels too. And there are a number of old buildings around in every direction from where the Capitol is. When we came out of the building, looking north, you could see like 6 old buildings right away. Not all of them, none of them were as big as the Capitol. Some were 2 to 3 stories high, um, and some were just 1 story, but they were obviously had the old world architecture part of them. And I put this in here with the black and white checkered floor because I knew most of you would tie that into history that we've been told. and some of the secret societies. And and this was down in the basement again. It's just a kind of a close up of, I don't know. I guess that's what they were saying, that the large stone or rock was the original, and at some point they closed it in, with the brick. But it just gives an idea of the size and what it may have been like. And just a little bit more closer up of some of the pillars, and a different type of pillar, and some of the detail on the ceiling. And this I took, these were brass or bronze. The railing, this I believe was the second floor, and all the way around the rotunda center opening, and just all the detail and of it. And so when I just have one more picture, and I'll show you that in a little bit. The so I believe it was when we got to the second floor after we had ridden the old elevator up. And so I had wanted a little bit of time to really try to tap into the building and see if I could get a message. And so I couldn't take very long, but I did find time to quiet my mind and put my hands on the buildings, on the marble walls of the. We were at that time like down the east corridor, I believe it was, and feel and ask if it had a message for me. And I got a message. It said, "We're alive and well." And they were using the plural. We're alive and well. The buildings are very glad to see that people are learning more about what they really were or capable of it, that we're learning more about humankind, about from mankind, from us, from the ancestors, or about the ancestors, I should say. So they're glad with that. And we'll know more, um, and we'll experience more when they're ready, when the time is right. And oh, I wanted to say, right away when I had gone in the building and stepped into the old part of it, away from the just the entrance area, got like under the in the rotunda under the dome area, and started walking through the aisles in those way, or through the branches there. It's like chi was moving quickly. It was there. It was no stagnant chi. These things were built like, for energy, of course, as you know. And it reminded me, I'm studying feng shui to be a feng shui consultant. And feng shui is all about um, making your house have really super good chi. And so I've become, just like I hear ancestors talk, I hear my home talk, and I could hear this building talk, and I can feel the chi. And when I make a change and put something up or take something down, whatever the change was, I feel the change instantly. And when I let chi open the front door and welcome in chi and opportunities every morning, chi comes in, and it's like it looks around, looks for anything new I might have done. And say like last night, it was dropped into the 40s, and I took my plants. My house plants are all outside during the summer, so I brought them in for the night so they wouldn't get too cold. And it was like, oh, this is new. And The chi is, as I've learned in feng shui, the chi is resembles a toddler in that way, in that it's very curious and wonder, right? It wonders, it has wondering what's going on, right? What's happening? What's new? Um, And so these buildings are awesome, and I think there's so much more we can learn. And I plan to um, visit more, and I'll give you more, share more information as I learn more about the feelings and emotions that can be felt within the buildings and what the buildings and the ancestors hold still for us today. And my last picture is as the world fairs, right? We all know about the world fairs and how they were to change history, right? To give a different story, to start or continue the big resets that happened. And I wanted to show, I don't, this was a show in Kansas in front of the Capitol building in 1904. And right away when I saw it, of course, it looks like, there's circuses and they have a lot of buildings. I have not seen anything that the buildings were actually built and then torn down. It's possible. Maybe they were across the street or something. I do not know. Um, 10th Street, which is on the south side of the Capitol, probably wasn't there at that time. Maybe it extended a lot further, and so the buildings were there, or perhaps they were more temporary. I do not know. I haven't found information on it. But what flashed in my mind right away was the world fairs, the resets, the continuing the story they wanted to tell people, they wanted people to believe. And so it didn't just happen at the world fairs. This is 1904, and it was from the end of May to the first end of the first week of June, something like that. And they were happening in Kansas too. So that's my information for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I think I'll go back when I po- possibly can go by myself and take the time I need, or go with other energy healers that were planning to make trips to some of these other capitals that are within a shorter drive for us. And so I hope to bring that information and some of those friends to come talk to you about what they noticed and sensed also. And again, I'll mention the Old World tuning from last night. If you didn't see it, my friend Joanne Atchity joined me to do energy healing to activate and amplify the Old World grid. And she spoke a little bit about, she had been recently in 3 state capitals. um, can't remember which ones, but again, she had the idea and was wanting to go with other energy healers where we could really all then sense into the energy and kind of get a better feel for those emotions and for what the buildings hold for us and what the ancestors held or still do, because we could still learn from them today. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.